जाति नीति कुल गोत्र दूरगम नाम रूप गुण दोष वर्जितम देश काल विषयातिवर्त्य यद ब्रह्म तत्त्वमसि भावयात्मनि. We will chant the first few verses. Following me, you can chant. ऊर्ध्वमूलमधः शाखम् अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम् छन्दांसि यस्य पर्णानि यस्तं वेद स वेदवित् अधश्चोर्ध्वं प्रसृतास्तस्य शाखाः गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रवालाः अधश्च मूलान्यनुसन्ततानि कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके. So yesterday, after having the introduction on what Bhagavad Gita is, its salient points, we started with this 15th chapter and the first illustration of the samsara vriksha or brahma vriksha. Both are used. That is the tree of world, the world tree or the Brahman tree. There itself, see, if it is the only, it is meaning the world, then we will not call it avyayam. Avyayam means unchanging, undecaying. By saying avyayam, we are adding the reality behind that. That although it is Ashwattha, contradiction you should see in the first line itself. They are calling it Ashwattha, that means which will not be there tomorrow. That means they are pointing out the transient nature of the tree. That is the transient nature of the world. At the same time he is saying it is avyayam, because truly speaking it is not the tree but it is all appearing on the Brahman. That Brahman part, the Brahman on which the tree appears is avyayam. So basically the tree also is avyayam. Now we had discussed a little, I will go a little deeper into it. He said that the points we discussed, it is an inverted tree. That is, the roots are above. Why? Because anything sacred, anything divine, we always associate with the up. And anything not so sacred or earthly, we always associate with the down, with the direction. Otherwise it has no other meaning. They want to say that the root of this tree is in Brahman, the ultimate reality, the consciousness, the Purusha. That is the root from which, on which it is sustaining. Without that it will not be there. It is appearing on the Brahman. So to mean that the root is in from Brahman, they have said it's urdha moolam, that it is upward, the roots are upward and it is coming down from there. And from the trunk onwards, whatever happens, everything is in the world of material causality. That is, it is following the material causality. Everything is cause and effect chain. Only when we go to the ultimate truth on which it is appearing, you have to transcend causality. Otherwise, you will not reach there. Because causality, if it takes you there, naturally you will ask, what is the cause of Brahman? What has created Brahman? That is not the absolute truth then. By absolute truth, it has to be beyond causality. Now, as it is proceeding, what is happening, they have discussed, they have illustrated in brief. We should remember that right from the first shloka, the main purpose of this chapter is emphasized. I told you earlier also that the purpose of this chapter is not to go to the Nirguna Brahman, not to remain fixed to the Nirguna Brahman in Samadhi, but to consider the whole world as Brahman and divinize our life, interactive life, by interacting with the world, being freed of the raga dvesha primarily and all the ancillary defects. To do that, we have to have our anchor in this Supreme Brahman, which in this chapter he has defined as, the chapter is called Purushottama Yoga. That is why this chapter is given lot of importance, and everywhere it is chanted. Before food we chant, even somebody dies we chant. That could be some other reasons also, but basically it is a summary chapter where they have given this ultimate aim of Bhagavad Gita. This Purushottama, in the end, in 4 slokas, I will just read out so that you can relate the whole chapter. Shloka number 16 onwards. I generally divide the chapters into some sections. So see, this from 16 onward, it is a different section. I will tell you whenever we change over to the section, to each section. Dvavimau purushau loke. It is dvau imau. When sandhi is done, it becomes dvavimau. Dvau imau means in these two. Dvavimau purushau loke. Ksharascha kshara evacha. Ksharas sarvani bhutani. Kutastho kshara uchyate. In detail we will go later. We will compare this with the 7th chapter also, where they have defined other chapters also. But now just I wanted to tell you that Dvau imau purushau loke. In this loka there are 2 purushas. This is a speciality of Bhagavad Gita. One is Kshara Purusha, another is Akshara Purusha. We will find that this Kshara Purusha is the manifest Brahman. That is the world, which is generally called Prakriti. Kshara word means changeful. So it is to do with the Prakriti. Now, how this Prakriti is generally regarded to be inert. Yesterday also I discussed. How it is called Purusha? Because when we associate the consciousness with that Prakriti, actually it is appearing on the consciousness, then it becomes the Purusha. But it is Kshara Purusha, changeful Purusha. To emphasize that this is also Purusha, he has used this terminology. That we should not forget, that we should not think that Purusha is something and this world is not Purusha. So reject the world and always remain in that Samadhi. I said that the whole purpose of this is to divinize our world by establishing the ultimate truth in the world. We call it Jagat mein Satya ki Pratishtha. Jagat mein Satya ki Pratishtha. That means we are establishing the truth in the variegated world, so that we don't miss the truth even when we are interacting with the world. But we will miss it, provided if we have the Ragadvesha, we will not be able to get the anchor. So entire Bhagavad Gita is only asking us to get our mind freed of the Ragadvesha, so that once we have the experience of this Atma, this universal Atma, we can remain anchored there. Nobody will be there to pull us out. Now, Dvavimau Purushau Loke Ksharascha Akshara Evacha Ksharas Sarvani Bhutani. That Kshara Purusha is all the existence, the entire existence. Kutastho Akshara Uchyate. Kutastha means unchanging, which is not undertaking. Nirguna Brahma, as we say, that is the Akshara Purusha. Kshara Purusha, Akshara Purusha. Then the next verse says, Uttama Purushastvanyaha Paramatmetyudarhitaha Yo Lokatrayamavishya Vibhatyavyayishvaraha Yasmat Ksharamati Aksharaadapi chottamaha Atosmi loke vede cha Prathitah Purushottamaha. So saying all the existence is Kshara Purusha and the substratum, unchanging substratum, Nirguna Brahma, the consciousness without any action, without any Kriya of the Shakti, is the Akshara Purusha. He says, but there is something else which transcends both these, which is called the Uttamaha Purushaha. What is he? Ksharamatiitoham aksharaadapicha uttamaha. It is transcending the changeful Purusha, Kshara Purusha, and also it is superior to the non-changeful Nirguna Brahman also. That is called the Purushottama. So this Purushottama is the Samahara. Samahara means where both are contained in the assembly combination. But when we say combination, that division part, all this will come. So I don't know whether there is any proper expression for that. But it is containing both the Kshara and Akshara. That is the Purna Brahma. In other places you will find they get in that the whole creation. How is it? In Vedas, I will just mention so that we know that these are there. In Vedas it is there that the whole creation is a combination of Aditya and Akasha. Apart from the Brahman, in the material level objectude, Aditya and Akasha. Aditya means the sun and Akasha means the space, or you can say air also. So these two together is creating the whole, is keeping the whole world alive. So they find that shining in the Ashwattha Vriksha. That is it. It is as if the creation is fluttering through the leaves, which is the Vedas, which are actually the Vedas. Vedas are also talking about the leaves. They are projecting the truth from there. The other day I said that when from Samadhi the consciousness comes back, you can see the whole universe as if it is a shimmering Ananda, a joy. Now, Ananda is a bodily feeling, is it not? So bodily or mental feeling. It is related to our body, mind, personality. Ananda cannot be abstract. So it has to be a feeling. So that feeling comes, so from that the creation grows. That is why the rishis say that Anandadhyeva khalvimani bhutani jayante anandena jatani jivanti anandam pravishanti abhisham vishanti. That is, the whole creation is out of Ananda. Not only the creation is out of Ananda, it is living, sustained in Ananda. It merges into Ananda, finally it gets destroyed and gets completely merged into Ananda. It is Ananda and Ananda only. Everywhere it is Ananda. Now what is this Ananda? Why did they say Ananda? There should be some meaning. They have not just like that said. Now Ananda is something we have to feel. You cannot say that, oh, there was Ananda here and from that the leaves are growing. Can you say that? Can you see Ananda as objective before in the objectude? Ananda is something to be felt in us. So the creation is actually what we are interacting with the creation as it appears in our mind. The external creation or whatever we may say, the creation we know of, unless it appears in our mind, will we know about it? It is not difficult. You should not think it is difficult. If we look within, we will know that it is as in dream, there is no external world. The whole picture of the dream world is coming in the mind. Like that in the wakeful world also, let there be signals from outside. But what we are interacting with is what appears in our mind, in our consciousness. Go one step further. Even the external we are saying, that externality, internality, everything is appearing in our mind. That is only secondary. Some we are calling external, some we are calling internal. The whole thing is in the mind. And in that mind, when the creation appears, it gives a shimmering Ananda, feeling of joy. So will they not say that the Ananda Deva Khalvimani Bhutani Jayante, that the whole creation is born of Ananda? So, Chandamsi yasya paranani yastam vedasa vedavid. One who knows this tree in all, its mula, its leaves, its branches, everything, he is called a vedavid, who has the knowledge as knower. Then he says, adhaschordhvam prasitas tasya shakha. This Ashwattha tree, the shakhas, the branches, are going both upward and downward. Guna pravriddhaha, vishaya prabalaha. Guna pravriddha, the prakriti is constituted of three gunas. Yesterday also I said, as in 14th chapter, just the chapter before they have discussed in detail. So they are all growing out of guna, and whenever the gunas are coming, actually it is all following the causality. That he will say in the next sentence, that karma anubandhini manushya loke. Karma means causality. So they are following the causality. Guna pravriddhaha, vishaya pravalaha. Vishaya pravala means pravala, generally they must have referred to the Ashwattha trees. They have got this small fruit or the buds. That must be the pravala. The meaning will differ from different book. They have translated differently. Whatever it is, they are all a product of the three gunas. That means they are part of nature. Although the whole vriksha is Brahma vriksha, but on that, once the trunk is coming out, the vriksha is coming out, it is all following the karma bandha, the causality of nature. You will be able to find out where from the leaf has come, from the trunk, how the sap came through. Everything you can find out causally related from the roots to the further down. But the two are going on, some are going upward, some are going downward. Why? Whatever karma we are doing, some are taking us more and more worldliness and away from the ultimate goal of life. And some are taking us towards upward, towards the ultimate goal. Now, normally you will find a translation where they will say the papa karma will take us downward and the punya karma will be taking up upward. But in spirituality, both papa punyas are considered as papa. Why? Because punya karma means whatever good work you have done. If it causes your ego to enhance, by doing some very good work, your ego will become still bigger. Then you are bound more. You are becoming more and more egoistic. You are coming away from the ultimate dissolution of the ego. So, whatever in spiritual interpretation will be, whatever sublimates our ego, whatever leads us to expansion, lightness, non-selfishness, those are the upward branches. And whatever takes us to more ego, more worldliness, more selfishness, they are the downward shakhas, taking us downward. Adhascha mulani anusantatani. Again he is saying, some roots are, mulani means roots, are coming down. Normally in a banyan tree, the mula will be down, the tree goes up, and the secondary roots again fall towards the ground. Here he is wanting the secondary roots to fall down, but the tree to remain upward. We are arranging our illustration to the way, in the manner so that it explains what we want to say. Here the secondary roots are coming down, because these secondary roots are also karma bandha, which is proceeding towards earth and tying us to the earth. What is the secondary root doing? It goes finally to the earth and supplies nutrition to the tree from the earth. But that nutrition is binding nutrition, that is causing bondage for us. So the secondary roots are also our karma bandha, whatever we are doing, but that is binding. As we said, that whenever we perform any action with the carrot of happiness in front, I have explained so many times. That is, by doing this, I will have this, I will have that, then I will become happy. So whenever we are doing like that, by doing this I will become happy, it is binding us further. It becomes a bandhana. That is the basic philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. If you can keep the carrot away, then your work is done. Then it will take you to liberation. It will no more bind you. That is, you are not looking for the carrot at the end, that I will become happy. Then you will be happy from beginning itself. And whatever you do, by removing that ultimate phala, you will move towards liberation. So, these mulani anusantatani means proceeding, spreading. Adhascha mulani anusantatani. Some secondary roots, they are spreading downwards. What are they? Karmanubandhini manushya loke. In the human world, in the world, they are all tying us in karma. Now this karma we should understand very well. It is very widely misinterpreted and misunderstood also. Karma is basically a religious concept. Any religious concept is based on, first of all, a concept of God, then concept of punarjanma, that is, you are going somewhere, that is vichara after death. In some religion it is different, but more or less it is a following different, the one body after another body, and heaven and hell. And the fourth column is karma, the causality. These are the four pillars of religious instructions given for the masses. Religion means it is for the mass. Those who will not be able to take to the abstraction level to understand the truth. Naturally, you are able to understand how refined our buddhi has to be to grasp the truth. So if you are not able to grasp the truth, the majority of the people, they may take to wayward behavior. They may take to corrupt behavior, corruptions and all. To retain them on the auspicious path, the religious codes are found. Although these religions also are used for the reverse purpose. That we cannot say anything. People blame religion for creating this terrorism or any other himsa. But actually, truly it is not the fault of religion. If you have himsa in your mind, you will take any excuse to do it, to fulfill it. It is our mind's problem. Suppose religion is not there, then you will invent communism to have the same terrorism. Or you will invent something else. So actually religion is not to be blamed for that. The purpose of religion is to put the society, the mass on the auspicious track and not allow them to go astray. So that is why in our religion, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, all these codes are given. The varnashrama dharma, all these are to keep the society under discipline in a balance. Now this karma is nothing but causality. But the problem is that the gross causality we are able to understand. There are many subtle causality also. What is the gross causality? If we push the table, it will move. We know. If we open the master, then the amplifier will produce the sound. We know. Anything we are doing wrong, why the sound is becoming so cracked? Because something has gone wrong there, you can know. These are all gross causality you can find. But there are many other causal chain going on which we are not attentive about. There is psychological, the first level is psychological causality. Whatever your mind is thinking, bhavas, etc., they also have a causal effect. Suppose you always keep very constricted thoughts, blaming thoughts, always quarreling thoughts, you will have a stressful mind. You will have the after effect of the other effects of the stress. Various kinds of defects will be there. Various kinds of troubles will be there. Suppose the other day, somebody had called from USA. He was very agitated about one of the members' behavior. So he initially described that he spoke in a so disturbing manner, blaming and condemning. It's all nasty way he has spoken. So I listened to all whatever he said, that this is the way in the meeting, the whole meeting got spoiled because of this, and he was speaking like this, etc. So after he finished that, I said that what can be done? He is like that, we know. We know that he is like that. No, how can you say that? Because they are all associated with Swamiji for 50 years or whatever. The many years they are associated with. We are all new, but they are associated. Should they not have some ethical behavior or some decency in their behavior? I said that what can be done? This person doesn't have. With the association also it doesn't have. Then why should we take to spirituality? Because if people behave like that, then why should we take to spirituality? I said, you need not take to spirituality, but you are free to look into people who have transformed with Swamiji's satsanga, and you are looking at people who have not transformed taking to spirituality. Can you not look at people who have got transformed by spirituality? It is up to you. He is not able to, still he is not accepting. He wants perhaps some decision, some step to be taken, but he is not saying that. Then finally I was also thinking what to say. I have to console him somehow. I said that I will tell you what I have heard from, what I have learned from one sannyasin. That has become like my Mula mantra. In my life it has worked like a Mula mantra. Whenever something is going absolutely wrong, in that sannyasin's case, the Mathadipati was doing many things wrong. So the whole ashram was in jeopardy. That there was things were going wrong. So whenever anything is reported, he would listen to it and then he will say, देख के जाओ, कुछ बोलना नहीं. देख के जाओ, कुछ बोलना नहीं. Go on seeing, go on listening, hearing. Don't say anything. Because when there is nothing, no purpose in saying, that you know that by saying only the quarrel will increase, nothing good will happen. You have to accept. So you see, don't say anything. There will be good, everybody will have some good qualities, some bad qualities. So try to look into the good qualities and accept it. Now, what great thing is going to happen? It is not a factory or where a person is sacked or this has to be done, that has to be done. It is only a Brahmavidya center where out of the 20 members, only 2 members come for the satsang perhaps. And one member shouts, another member listens. So what great is going to happen there? कितना झगड़ा होता है. यहाँ भी तो वैसे ही है. 8-10 है तो दोनों में फाइट हो गया बहुत. क्या फायदा है इसमें? कुछ नहीं है. People have all these tendencies, we have to bear with it. Often in the ashram, when one inmate is not able to bear the other inmate, we point out that how Swamiji is bearing both of you. Without any trouble, Swamiji is tolerating you. Can you not see? So, this karma is actually the causality of our mind. Suppose you have petted your child too much in the childhood and later on he becomes absolutely naughty. It is your overindulging in his many things which is causing now. At that time you were very happy by, fondling the child. But you did not know that that is spoiling the child and later on I will have to bear the repercussion. So we don't see those subtle laws working. There are many such subtle laws working. So our karma theory actually wants to make us responsible for what we do. It is psychological level, then there are further deeper level, in the emotional level, in the intelligence level. There are various levels of everything in this existence is following causality. So only we are attentive about the gross causality, we miss the subtle causality. So subtle causality, they have, our Shastrakaras, our rishis had understood that the subtle causality people will not be able to see. So they have to given a certain code of conduct so that the subtle causality also is looked into. Suppose one is suffering from a papa he has done, some sinful act he has done and his mind is constantly bothered by it. Many years have passed, but he is not able to get over it. Now, the yaga or the pandit or somebody will suggest that you do this puja, that puja, or this yajna, that yajna, then your papa will be relieved. Now, with the faith you do the puja, then you become free. Now, what has happened here? The pandit has incorporated, infused a new causality in the causality you are following. In your mind, the causality you are following and you are getting disturbed by the old happenings, something. He introduced a new factor in it, that doing the puja I have done something punya and I will be all right, my sin will not punish me anymore. So by that causal flow is changed by this causality. Both are causally related. It has to be cleverly done by the astrologer and the priest, but they are not always that clever. They want only money. They may not be always interested in the people so much. Actually, they are supposed to be interested in the welfare of the people. The entire astrology is written like that. Astrology has to be with the welfare orientation. So any astrologer has to be extremely responsible, because the astrologer is handling the future of human beings. If he says that on such and such day you are going to die, the man may really die because of his prediction, because he will get so upset. If he is a famous astrologer, suppose you have gone and he says that this will happen, that will happen, and you are going to die after that. If he says, it may happen so. And many things may happen just because he has said. So astrology is not just a prediction. He has to take into consideration a very comprehensive view of everything and what will be beneficial for the person. According to that, he will take the help of his astrological whatever laws and other things are there, and he will tell you only what will be beneficial for you. So these are all, you can say that there is no truth. There is truth, because they are working in that these delusions are necessary to get rid of other delusions. The whole world is illusion. So more illusory things are put to make our life favorable. But the purpose of the karma is basically to make you responsible, that everything is following a certain causality. So whatever you do, it is an effect of the past. But people use it in just the opposite manner. They said, हम क्या कर सकते हैं, ये तो हमारा कर्म है. What can I do? This is my karma. Arey, this is your karma means you have to be responsible more. Not that you will not be responsible. Just to use it as an excuse, we are using it in the reverse manner. But because we are not able to relate, suppose in this life a person is very honest, very good, but he is suffering. He doesn't have money or so. So he says that all the bad people are flourishing and honest people is suffering. What is this God's ways and all? To console him, we'll say that in the previous life you were a dangerous person, you have done all kinds of corruption, that is why you are suffering. But it is not all. Now in this life you do good things, so that next life you will be all right. Isme galat kya hai? There is nothing wrong. He is only trying to put him on the right track. उनको सब कुछ तत्व समझाने से तो नहीं होगा, वो समझ में नहीं आएगा. It is a simple way of putting people on the right track. That you are responsible. It is not karma means I am not responsible for that. If you are not responsible in this life, you are responsible for your previous life. Actually, previous life is there or not, it doesn't matter. We are only making you responsible for whatever you are suffering or whatever you are enjoying. And you do in the right manner so that your future also is ensured. Whether next life is there or not, it doesn't matter. Nobody can verify it is there or it is not there. Heaven and hell, nobody can verify. So these are very clever models, you can say, or fictions, that you cannot prove, you cannot disprove also. So we utilize these fictions to make the society all right. So this is the meaning of karmanubandhini, means it is not only the gross causality you will not be able to follow, there are subtle causalities also. Even people do not think that much that I am a son of a poor father, that is why I am poor. He looks for a cause in the past life. Anybody born to a poor parents will be poor. He has to work for becoming rich. But he has to, why others are not, I am poor because of something I did in the past life. And they will be told also something so that they can be free of the. Swamiji talks about a lady who, something happened and somebody scolded her or something. She says that I will never be able to forget these words till my body is put on the pyre. Maybe the other person has forgotten completely about it and happily living his life. But this lady is still suffering. Why did she say like that? Arey bola to kya hua usme? This is the meaning of Sangha. Now he will come to the next verse. This is called Sangha, clinging. And Bhagavad Gita has shown very clearly that what is Sangha, how it operates. 2 point. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho vijayate. That is, desire is not inherent in us. Some desires might be there. The majority of the desires come from Sangha. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate. If we think of something repeatedly, then we will cling to that. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. The desire for that or hatred towards that comes because of this Sangha or clinging developed out of repeated mental association. Dhyayato vishayan. By constantly meditating on Vishaya. I can give a very simple proof that when there was no only ambassador running in our country, very satisfied having a ambassador. If it is new first hand, you are fulfilled. No more, nothing is necessary. Now, even if you have a very good car, I don't know which are the cars, if the next person is having a BMW or a Jaguar or a what are the others, I don't know, then you will think that, oh, his car is looking much better. Every day it passes, so you see every day, and your mind works on it. One day perhaps he invites you to come somewhere and you happen to board his car. Oh, the suspension is very good, no jerking at all. It is still better. So the desire for changing the car is sprouting through every association. More and more you think the desire will become strengthened by that. And then finally you will go for the car. But after you have got the car, 2 days it is all right. Then again maybe the neighbor has changed the car to a still higher level. Or he has got a mobile which you do not have. Newer models of mobile have come. So it is just by dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha. This repeated thinking. That is why the spiritual sadhana means spending mind hours on this truth. Because we are always spending mind hours constantly thinking about this variegated world. Suppose one person, A and B, both of them have a little displeasure with C. Now, if A and B starts conversing about C and blaming C repeatedly, you will find that their hatred will grow further. Is it not? It is only by spending time, because if one was alone, that thinking about C would not have been so much. Now, two are together and they are always chatting. So, and chatting, the topic of chatting is C. So you are spending more mind hours on the defects of C, not on the gunas of C, not on the qualities of C. By thinking about the defects, C is becoming more and more evil before your eyes. So it is the other side. First I talked about the positive karma, this is about the hatred. First I said desire, and now it is hatred also. The more mind hours you spend on a topic, and creates a clinging in your mind. And that clinging results in desire and hatred, raga dvesha. So Bhagavad Gita has clearly shown it already. So adhascha mulani anusantatani karmanubandhini manushya loke. They tie us more and more to the worldliness, the adho-going, the downward going roots. And they get their nourishment for the tree from the earth. See, the gravity is always pulling us downward. So any upward movement has to be against gravity. Now the third verse. Narupamasyeha tathopalabhyate Nanto na chadir na cha sampratishtha Ashwattha subirudhamulam Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gata na nivartanti bhuyaha tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yata pravrittih prasita purani. This 3 and 4 to be studied together. It's single sentence. It is not ending in 3. Once more. Narupamasyeha tathopalabhyate nanto na chadir na cha sampratishtha ashwatthaменam subirudhamulam asangashastrena dridhena chitva tatah padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gata na nivartanti bhuyaha tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yata pravrittih prasita purani. He says, na rupam asya rupam na iha tatha upalabhyate. The real rupa, the real nature of this Ashwattha tree is not understood by people in general. Because we are seeing only with our body mind complex around us, the whole tree, the whole world tree, where from it has come, where it is going, nothing is understood. Na antaha, na cha adihi, na sampratishtha. Its end, we don't know. How long it will be there, where it will go, we don't know. Na adihi, even the beginning we don't know. We may form several models, Big Bang, steady state, this, that and all, but the adi we will never know. Not only that, talking about adi also is in a way wrong. Because if you say that this world started on such and such time, if you say, that means time was already existing. Actually, the time is starting from, they are all together. You cannot isolate them. Time, causality, creation, everything is together. It is cyclic. It is not linear, that one here's time started. Here time started itself is meaningless. That means you already had the time. And time and causality are interrelated. Whatever is preceding in time, we call cause. Whatever is following in time, we call effect. This about time, there are a lot of discussion in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It's very difficult and intricate, but those who are given to meditation, they can follow that what they are saying. Lot of discussion is there on kala, that is time. That only present is there and not past and future. Anyway, that we are not concerned here. Nantu nachadir nacha sampratishtha. Sampratishtha means samyak pratishtha. That means we are finding the world is there. Everything is experimental, provable, everything is all right. But when you go into the substance of it, causality, then we find that nothing, we can nowhere we can reach. As I explained the other day also, suppose through the causal process we find out something as the beginning of this universe, then naturally the question will be there, where from that has come. It is infinite regression, we say. We look for cause of A, we find out B. Then naturally the question will be, where from did B come? Then you get C. Then the question will be, where from did C come? If God has created the universe, who has created God? That question will never be resolved. So if you find out something as the cause of the universe, that also will be within the material. If you find a material cause of the universe, that material is part of the universe. Who has caused that? So truly speaking, when you go into it, even scientifically also when you go into it, all the matter, it loses its grossness its usual coordinates, whatever parameters we know of, everything becomes meaningless. Even according to modern physics also, not modern physics, it is 1950s physics, 1930s physics, that it's all probability wave. Just like as we are saying, the knowledge is the fundamental building block. The whole universe is on knowledge, sustained on knowledge. It is all made of knowledge alone. Knowledge means not the second-hand knowledge. Knowledge means our consciousness. That is the ultimate Advaya knowledge. Bhagavatam says, Vadanti tat tattva vidaha tattvam ya jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. The tattva, the knowers, they say that the tattva, the ultimate truth, is yad jnanam advayam, the non-dual knowledge. That is the knowledge where the jnata, jnana, jnaya, this triputi is not there, this threefold division is not there. That is called non-dual knowledge. That is why we say self reveals itself. It is not the self is revealed by something else. If something else reveals the self, then that is the self, and this is not the self. Self is the revealer of everything and revealer of itself also. So he says that Advaya Jnana is this non-dual knowledge is the truth, is the fundamental, the substratum of entire universe. People call it Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. Some people call it Brahman, some people call it Paramatma, some people call it Bhagavan or God. It is only in reality, it is the Advaya Jnana that we come to know ourselves, that self is the ultimate. Sampratishtha. That pratishtha, that if you look into the world pratishtha, it is nowhere there. When you know the truth, you find that the pratishtha is only it is sustained by the consciousness. It is appearing on the consciousness. The world doesn't have any pratishtha as such. Ashwattha menam, now he is coming to the sadhana. Ashwattha menam subirudha moolam. It's a very strong built Ashwattha. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. Dridhena asanga shastrena chitva. So the sword is asanga, asangatva, with which you have to cut off the tree. Now cutting off means you are not cutting off the world. You cannot destroy the world. Cutting off the tree in our mind, in our internal level. And you have to cut off with your quality of asanga, not to cling to anything. Asanga means I am the witness of anything is happening. Guna guneshu vattante iti matva na sajjate. The sanga goes when we find that the whole world is a play of three gunas. You may not think of three gunas. The whole world is a play of the objectitude, in which my body-mind complex, my body-mind personality is also a created object in this whole universe, which term used is Purna Brahma. So Purushottama Yoga is trying to give us the position of Purna Brahma, that we are in reality the Purna Brahma, with neither the Akshara Purusha nor the Akshara Purusha. And only when we come to know this Purna Brahmatva, that in my Atma, when we go within us to find out the Atma, we call it Pratyagatma. Pratyag means, Parak means outward, Pratyag means inward. So because from going from this variegated world to that one identity, we have to look within first. So we call it is Pratyagatma. But when we really penetrate within, we find that we are not able to touch it, because we are looking for something there also. Looking for something different from us. Even when in meditation you are looking for the Atma, our tendency will be, I want to know what is the Atma, that something different from us. So it is not really we are looking within. By within we mean we should look into our I, where from that Aham is coming. As long as we are looking for something else, then we are not looking at I. So until we stop that effort to look for the second, look for something as self or so, we will not be able to discover it. So when we stop doing it, when we discover it, then it is not at all looking within or anything. There is no within, no without, nothing. It is all Atma and Atma alone. When approaching as a sadhana, we are looking within. But the fruition of that sadhana, ultimate sadhana, is to reach that. When that within, without, nothing is there. The whole world has vanished there. World means including our body, mind, personality, everything is vanished. No individuality left. Only the amness is only available. So, that is the Nirguna Brahman. Now, if we come back again to the interactive life, again the world becomes the world different from that. So, the next step is, we call it Brahmasthiti. That means finding the truth, finding whatever we have found in meditation, finding the truth in everything, everywhere. There is nothing other than that. That alone is. Is there also we cannot say, then it will be wrong. Even saying is it is a little more correct. That alone is. By existence, always we mean that existence means I will be able to find it. Either know it or see it or perceive it or something called existence. That means an objectude. But the real existence is not objectude, is to get rid of the objectude and get dissolved in the transcendence, where subject-object has got fused. Na pratyak brahmanor bhedam kadapi brahmasargayoho prajnaya yo vijanati sa jivan muktaishyate. Na pratyak brahmanor bhedam. There is no difference between the pratyagatma and the Brahman. Na pratyak brahmanor bhedam. Kadapi brahma sargayoho. Sarga means the srishti, the world, the existence. Kadapi brahma sargayoho. There is no difference between the Brahman and the existence. The existence is nothing but Brahman. Prajnaya yo vijanati. One who knows this by prajna, sa jivan mukta ishyate. He is the jivan mukta. To become jivan mukta, we have to know this by prajna. Now, he is not saying that one who knows, one who sees it by dhyana. So, it is not a meditative fruition. Meditative fruition is by dhyana samadhi, one who gets the Atma Sakshatkara also. But this knowing the whole world as Brahman, nothing, the Atma and the Brahman and the same and the world as Brahman, it is a role played by jnana. Prajnaya, by prajna who knows, vijanati, not sees. Sa jivan mukta ishyate. All these terms are very important. We have to focus on them. This, he is saying prajnaya. He is not saying vicharena janati. See, in other places you will find vichara tikshnatamethya dhihi pashyati parampadam dirgha samsara rogasya vicharohi mahoshadam. From Yoga Vasishta. Vicharat tikshnatamethya dhihi pashyati parampadam dirgha samsara rogasya vicharohi mahoshadam. He is saying that vichara is the only sadhana to take you to the ultimate. All other things are preparatory. Finally, you have to take to vichara. Vasishtadeva says that I am telling everybody vichara and vichara alone, but nobody listens to me. If you do the vichara, that where lies the truth between the nitya and anitya, viveka, these are all called vichara. What is nitya, what is anitya, what is permanent, what is temporary. By that, what will happen? The intelligence will undergo a certain change. It will undergo a transformation, which we call sattvika change. The intelligence, mind, everything will become purer, more sattvic, more and more sattvic. By that, what happens? Dhihi pashyati parampadam. Not with the eyes. The buddhi, the dhihi, our understanding, where we understand everything. That I am, that understanding is in us. It is not through vichara we are knowing that I am. Even that I have a mind. Are we doing analysis to know that I have mind? Or I know that I have mind? It's a natural experience of our Atma. It's a direct experience for us. Like that, dhihi pashyati parampadam, that ultimate truth also will be a direct perception for the buddhi, not for the eyes. Dirgha samsara rogasya vicharohi mahaushadam. That ancient disease called worldliness. Samsara means here worldliness. The only great medicine is vichara. There he has said. Now here he is saying prajnaya yo vijanati. It is not vichara will finally take you to the prajna. That is the understanding by the buddhi. Vichara, it will undergo a transformation. Finally, your prajna will illumine the truth. That is called prajna. That is no more analysis, no more effortful. The difference is that in theoretical understanding, we have to be effortful. Now, what are we doing? We are applying our buddhi to get at the truth. This is an effortful process. But when this process is it maturates, then it naturally shines in the buddhi. We don't call it really buddhi, we call it shines in the buddhi, but it is called prajna, it is called bodhi. These are the terms generally used. So, this one which is beyond the Kshara Purusha and beyond the transcending the Akshara Purusha also, that is the Purushottama. He says, I am ataha asmi loke vedeja pratitah Purushottama. Krishna says that I am established in the loka, in the world, as Purushottama. That means he is identifying himself with the Purushottama. That means any seeker will have to identify himself as the Purushottama. Wherever Krishna says that he enters me, means what? Krishna is a person who has identified himself with the universal identity. So anybody entering Krishna means he will also identify himself with the universal identity. His Atma will become the universal Atma. For that, Krishna does not have to be here in body, that he is there and we have to enter into his body. It is not like that. So we get back to the shloka. This is the mool pratipadya. Pratipadya means the fundamental idea of this chapter, presentation or vision of this chapter. That we should remember. So he says that this inverted Ashwattha vriksha, it is transient, but it is avyaya also. Why? Because it is Brahma vriksha. It is appearing on the Brahman. Actually, this I said that this Brahma vriksha or samsara vriksha, it is called Maya vriksha also. All these names, these are appearing in Vedas, in Mahabharata, in various cases. But Mahabharata statement is very good. I will just read out, it is here. Ajivyaha sarvabhutanam brahma vriksha sanatanaha etad brahma vanam chaiva brahma charati nityashaha. He says it is a brahma vriksha sanatanaha means never changing, always present. Etad brahmavanam chaiva brahma charati nityashaha. That here in this you can call it a Brahma forest, Brahman, the forest of Brahman, where Brahman is always everywhere present as the different materials, as the different objects, the entire objectitude. If the expression is good, the Vyasadeva's expression. So, saying that, he says, Chandamsi yasya parnani. Chandamsi means the Vedas, the words of the Vedas, they are the leaf. It is in various senses, you can say. Yesterday I said the leaves, what are the leaves doing? They are actually protecting the tree also. And if the leaves are not there, the tree will die. So the tree to remain, it needs the sap coming from the moola, and also it needs the nutrition coming from the leaves, the light as well as the oxygen coming from the leaves. Both are necessary to sustain. Now, sap coming from the moola is our real anchor, our identity. That is unchanging, that is always there. But to have the leaf, to have the worldly tree sustain, there has to be something which is interacting with the whole world. That is what we are doing with our indriyas and everything. In other sense, the leaves are the protectors of the tree. So actually the Vedas are the protector of the samsara vriksha. They are giving the dharma, adharma, the codes of conduct, so that we are not led to destruction. We survive. So any meaning can be given. Vedas are generally, the rishis were very poetic. You will find beautiful poetic descriptions are there. You have seen the Ashwattha tree when the leaves come up like Krishna's feet, the small, small pink leaves come out. Even when they grow a little with the light greenish tinge. Have you seen them fluttering in wind? Even the wind you will not feel, that it's not a strong wind which can be felt. But you will find the whole Ashwattha Vriksha, there is a vibration in the leaves. And if there is sunlight, you will find the sun shining through the leaves, beautifully shining in the leaves. These are all the functions, the phenomenological picture of the gunas playing. I am nowhere touched by anything at all. I am unaffected. I am only the witness of it. Even saying witness is not all right, but that is what we can say. So that is the astra given. Just now what I was saying, it is the minor asanga shastra. What did I say? That theek hai, everybody has got some good qualities, some bad qualities. Why are you getting so much agitated? So our agitation is depending on our sangha, that we are expecting a certain behavior from somebody. Actually, the person who is saying, he also may not be all right in his behavior. Generally, in spirituality, always we say that whenever we are blaming somebody for a certain quality, it means that I am also haunted by that quality. If you are free of that defect, then you will never condemn anybody. You can point it out, you can help others to correct it, but you will never blame. If you are really out of that. So whenever our blaming tendency comes about anything, rather than looking into the blameworthy person, is it blameworthy? What is the word used here? Blameworthy, no? Who can be blamed. Instead of looking at that person, look at yourself, that may not be in that gross manner, but in some subtle manner, I also have that defect. So this asanga will give us the impersonal view of the world. As we see the other people, we will look at ourselves also. As we are finding our defects and our good qualities, we will find in others also some good qualities, some defects are always there. I had a great lesson when I was teaching in a undergraduate college in Vivekananda College in Calcutta. Our friend had come and stayed with us there. The poor friend has committed suicide later on. Anyway, stayed with us there. At that time, I was going through the answer scripts of the exam. Some exam was over, and at home also I was going through the answer scripts. And our college was a little outskirt of Calcutta. Those days it was almost at the outskirt of Calcutta. So many of the students were from the villages, who were perhaps the first generation studying science or so. And even studying also at the college level, maybe that was the first generation. So the answers will be very funny and peculiar sometimes, that you cannot give any marks or so. So I was reading out that, see how they have written. This is what I have written. What marks can I give in this case? What to do? All the answers are like this. So what can I do? He would say that, छोड़ दीजिए ना, बच्चा है, छोड़ दीजिए, कुछ तो दे दीजिए. It struck me so much that I remembered forever. What am I doing? These people have never studied, their parents have never, perhaps, maybe illiterate also. They are at least studying something and somehow did something, studying in the science stream, trying to understand something. Maybe we have not taught them well. It is our teaching which is at fault. The kind of teaching they need, maybe we are not doing it in that manner. How can we blame them and how can we ridicule them like that? Oh, it was a great lesson. It is just like Diksha mantra for me. I had lot of such mantras from different people. They are my gurus, like our Avadhuta's 24 gurus. I have used them as mantra. That whenever the mind behaves in that manner, I try to, not that I am perfect, but I said that they have worked very well for me. Whenever I am able to point out that my behavior is going like that, I remember those words and correct myself, try to correct myself. So this asanga, this is clinging to our opinion, clinging to our own vision. That is the sangha. We are always like a cocoon. In a cocoon, we are closed up by our association. We can think only that much. We don't have a comprehensive vision. So this asanga shastrena dridhena, dridhena asanga shastrena chitva. As we practice this comprehensive vision, by reducing the sangha, we become more and more impersonal. That impersonality is nothing but soul quality. That is what I want to point out. It's a coordinate of the soul. The soul is the pinnacle of impersonality. Anything happens in the universe, soul is not affected. Some are ugly, some are beautiful, some are petrified, somewhere it is garbage, somewhere it is beautiful flower. The soul doesn't get affected by anything at all. So more and more we can see the world as it is, look at ourselves as we are. We are really, our mind is becoming the soul. We should remember that the transformation is nowhere. The soul is whatever it is. Soul doesn't get changed. The soul, there cannot be any change. It is not an object. But mind is an object. We can transform our mind. We can transform our emotions. And a pure mind is nothing but the soul manifest. We can know only the pure mind, which is a manifest soul. So the purity develops like that. This is the asanga, dridhena asanga shastrena chitva. When we do, then the whole world plays with its guna, durguna, everything, three gunas, everything. We remain a witness to that. Guna guneshu vattante iti matva na sajjate. That is what Bhagavad Gita said. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So he says that na rupamasyeha tathopalabhyate na anto na chadir na cha sampratishtha ashwattamenam subirudhamulam asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. Now, after you have cut off the tree, this worldly tree, by asanga, then what are you supposed to do? With the asanga, what are you supposed to do? The sadhana doesn't stop there. They are saying what we are supposed to do after that. What do you do? Tatah, thereafter. Tat padam parimargitavyam. Margitavyam means anveshana. That means inquire. Tat padam, that supreme, about the supreme ultimate truth. Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam. So when you develop the impersonality or asanga, then only will inquiry dawn in you. It is very important. Some inquiry can dawn in you. But the real inquiry after truth will come only when you have developed a reasonable amount of asangatva. Before that, the real inquiry will not dawn. We will want to know what is God and what is that. The sadhana will not become powerful. The sadhana to become powerful, you have to come away, you have to withdraw from the entanglement of all the senses which are always indulging in the world, which are slave to the world. We have to withdraw them from that slavery and really earnestly yearn for that ultimate truth or insight. So, by cutting off the tree of worldliness, samsara vriksha, cutting off that within us, we have to then install in that place the real inquiry after what? Tatah padam tat parimargitavyam. Yasmin gata na nivartanti bhuyaha. By going there, there is no coming back. That means where you go beyond the cycle. The cycle is again and again coming back. But you go beyond the cycle, the regular daily cycle of getting up, doing this, doing that, then again going to sleep, again coming back the same way. A cyclic process is not evolving, not moving anywhere, not progressive. So our cyclic life, cyclic thoughts have to be replaced by progressive thoughts, progressive life, where every day will be a new, every morning you get up with I have become purer or a little more impersonal. That impersonality will grow. So you will be attempting to get to that state from where there is, you go beyond, where it is beyond causality. There is no coming back again and again and repeating the same cycle. Tameva chadyam purusham prapadye. Tam eva, this eva is extremely important. Tam eva cha adyam purusham prapadye, that Adi Purusha. He will say that Adi Purusha is the Purushottama. Prapadye means take refuge in. Tam eva, take refuge only in him, not in any other things, not in your property, not in your fame, not in your manpower. Generally, we are taking ashraya, taking refuge in all these things, on our job, in our property, in our relatives, in our manpower. He says that once you have cut off the tree of samsara by asanga shastra, install the real inquiry into the transcendental truth. And how will you inquire? By taking refuge in that transcendental Purusha, Purushottama. By taking refuge in that Purushottama. Taking refuge means you have to surrender to him. And what is the proof that you have surrendered? You will have a feeling of ashraya bodha. Ashraya bodha means refuge. You will feel that I am sitting on the lap of the highest power. There is no fear from anything, even from the Surya, even from the Chandra. There is no fear at all, because I am sitting in the lap of the Supreme Purusha. Take refuge in that Purusha. And eva means only in him, nothing else. Tameva chadyam purusham prapadye. Yatah pravrittihi prasita purani. From where all this Prakriti, the whole universe, the galaxies, everything is appearing on him. You have taken refuge in them, in him, not in the changeful items which have come from him. So, first it is asanga shastra, dridhena asanga shastrena chitva. The samsara vriksha has to be cut off, not outside, but within. And then install the inquiry after the parimargitavyam, which path will take you to that ultimate truth. And how will you attain it? By taking refuge in that Purushottama. We will stop here. Tomorrow again we will start. I think I have to go a little faster. No? Prabuddham vimuktam vikaradihinam prasannam sada nitya bodhasvarupam param nishchalam nirgunam sarvarupam bhajeham sadanusmarami pranomi. Prabuddham vimuktam vikaradihinam prasannam sada nitya bodhasvarupam param nishchalam nirgunam sarvarupam bhajeham sadanusmarami pranomi. Hari Om Tat Sat.